We all want to tread more lightly on the earth, but we've got to do it in a way which works. And just people shouting and screaming like "just stop oil" do, and saying things which are just fundamentally not correct, is not actually going to get us any further down this journey or any quicker.
Is the government now essentially going to abandon green policies in light of the Uxbridge by-election?
No, we still have the objective of treading more lightly on the earth. I think everybody agrees with that. I think that's a very sensible thing to do. We've set a series of targets, very ambitious targets, to get to 2050. But what I think Uxbridge shows is that we have to do this in a careful manner, a manner over the course of several decades, and we have to take people with us. And that's something that the Labour Party failed to do in making their case in Uxbridge. And what the government wants to be very careful about doing is making sure that people come with us on this journey.
Do you then agree with Michael Gove, the Levelling Up Secretary, who's talking today about we have to be careful about not treating the environment as a religious crusade? He's saying there needs to be a relaxation of some net zero measures, essentially saying we need to slow down. Is he right?
I think what Michael was saying was that there's a group of people in politics and a group of campaigning organisations that do treat it like a religion. They do treat it with an evangelical fervour, which I'm not sure is the right thing to do. And you can't have a reasonable debate with people. The United Kingdom, for example, has reduced emissions by, I think it's a factor of 2 more than any other G7 country. You know, on an average day, it's a substantial proportion of our energy now comes from renewables. We're just going into nuclear again in a big way. We've made huge progress. That doesn't mean we should rest on our laurels. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue to do that, but we've got to do it in a way which works, in a way which takes people like in my constituency in North East Derbyshire along with this. We all want to tread more lightly on the earth, but we've got to do it in a way which works. And just people shouting and screaming like "just stop oil" do, and saying things which are just fundamentally not correct, is not actually going to get us any further down this journey or any quicker.
So should we slow the pace down? For example, should the government say, actually, we shouldn't be banning petrol and diesel cars in 2030? Maybe we should make that 2035 or 2040. Should we just slow it down a bit?
Well, we're already doing a significant amount of staging of this, because when this was brought in 2019, when the net zero target was passed by Parliament, we said that there would be a series of interventions that we do over the course of 30 years, half my adult lifetime effectively. And some of those things we will do early. We've decarbonised the grid, from most of the grid, for example. We've got rid of most coal already. But then there will be things which happen in the 2020s, things which happen in the 2030s. So we've got to do that in a staged way. And in the Department for Levelling Up, I'm a junior minister in Michael's department. We're working through all of the detail around buildings. For example, we brought in some regulations last year, which mean that all new buildings have to have higher standards from an environmental perspective. And then we're thinking about how we can bring some more regulations in 2025. Again, it's careful, staged progress every year, rather than just things like "just stop oil" and the Labour Party, who just say things which actually are, one, not really correct, and two, don't actually get us any further down the road.
Would it be better if the government incentivised people? I mean, for example, why not reintroduce the grants that people could get if they were buying an electric car, or make the scrappage schemes for the likes of a ULEZ scheme more attractive, more generous? Wouldn't it be better to incentivise people?
Well, the government's provided quite a significant amount of support over a number of years.
But forgive me, we're in a cost of living crisis, aren't we? And people keep getting in touch with us saying that they just simply can't afford to do these green measures, even though they want to.
Exactly, which is why we have to be careful about how we do it and the order in which we do it, and making sure we take people along with us. We had significant solar subsidies a number of years ago, and because the cost of solar has reduced, partly as a result of those subsidies, we've moved the taxpayer subsidy, which, you know, is people's taxes, people's hard-earned money, which the government needs to use in a way which is effective. So we've moved them to something else, try and bring the cost of those things down. We've put quite a substantial amount of money into housing retrofit, for example. So there's going to be some money in the system, and there always has been. It's always been planned for that to happen. But we've got to make sure that we're doing this in a staged way. And, you know, the reality is there isn't enough money to do everything at once. Government is about trade-offs. So what the Conservatives are saying, what my party is saying, is we've got this target that's nearly 30 years ahead. We need to every year make progress and every year try to improve things. And so far, I think that track record, the record that we have as a government, is a positive one on that.
I want to ask you a couple of things before I know that you have to go. Yesterday, we were reporting on the story in the Times about Rishi Sunak's plan to divide and rule, create divisive policies on crime, migrant votes and transgender rights. He was talking using language like Rishi Sunak wanting to weaponise the issue of migrants in small boats. And lots of our listeners got in touch saying the absolute last thing we need is more division in politics. They didn't like that tone. Do you think that maybe was the wrong tone to set?
Well, I can't comment on what's in rumours in papers and the like, but what I do know is that when I speak to my constituents in North East Derbyshire, they want, rightly, action on the boats, and that's what the government is trying to do. It's been stymied, it's taking time. I recognise that people are frustrated, but there is nothing divisive in saying that the United Kingdom should have secure borders. There is nothing divisive in saying that the British people, the people in North East Derbyshire, the people I'm proud to represent, should have the right to say who comes to this country, when they come, and the manner in which they arrive. We all want to be compassionate, but it's absolutely not compassionate to say that just because you run a gauntlet effectively over land and sea, that you stand a greater chance of staying here if you land on one of our beaches. That is absolutely the least compassionate policy I can think of. So it's not about division, it's about common sense. And the common sense is we have to stop the boats.
Now, I know that you want to talk about new reforms, making it easier to do things like convert commercial properties into homes, and also for homeowners to convert lofts and extend homes upwards and outwards. I mean, some people will be delighted to hear this. Other people may be worried about whether there could be more neighbourhood disputes, less control by neighbours over what their neighbours might actually build, if it's too imposing, block out light, etc.
Yeah, and there's always a balance to strike. You're right, and I know, and I can see that the challenge is trying to strike that balance. And what Michael, my boss, the Secretary of State, is going to set out tomorrow is more detail about this. But we're saying there's been lots of progress on this already over the last decade or so. There's been the ability to expand in certain places in certain ways, and that seems to have gone relatively well. It's brought in additional space, and then additional space in existing properties, and then new permitted development rights have brought on nearly 100,000 houses in the past 7 years. So it clearly works, and what Michael wants to set out tomorrow is how we can use that evidence to go further, make it better, build more houses, give people more space, and give people more choice, which is ultimately about what government should be about making sure that people have the ability to make choices about their lives and where they want to live and how they want to do that.